Okay, this is testing 1 2. This is Daniel Kahn Nelson, and this will go on the record as my first ever DVD commentary. And as you see, we get started here on what would I guess be classified as my second major film, my second full-length feature film. And if you followed me, then you know that my first film was known as Bad Day Funk, and this is my second film, Big Smokey and the Shankers. And we began this project in 2006, early 2006, and we finally wrapped it in winter of 2008. Roughly a 2 year project. Took us 2 years to make this movie, and I just wanted to say that what you're about to see here is it's completely everything you see on screen. You watch this movie is completely in the tradition of guerrilla filmmaking. Um, very much in the tradition of Black Caesar and other famous blaxploitation films that came out during those days, during that decade, in which you didn't have the budget or the prep time or anything like that, but you want to make a movie, and this is my contribution to being in a tough economy and trying to come out with a film. And it turned out pretty well for what I totally put into it, and everything everybody else put into it. I think we did a heck of a job. Now, this scene you see here is the opening. This actually wasn't the first thing we shot. This was shot later on, probably in 2007. We shot this, and the footage you see of Mary Sue there is definitely shot in 2008. Um, Everything was, like I said, when you're doing no budget cinema, it can completely get monotonous. The scenes that you shoot based on the availability of your crew, and like I said, no budget. Nobody was contracted. This was all thrown together by a bunch of very, very talented people who got together and decided to make a movie. This is hilarious. This whole scene's hilarious. As you see, there's Armand Cabanis who plays Ham Sandwich in the movie, and he is supposed to be the glutton of the group. He represents gluttony, and each of the Shankers represents something different. Um, this and Ham Sandwich, of course, Honeysuckle has her love of ordering him around and picking on him, and as you see, she just Rose Person, by the way, came up with this all herself. This was all Rose Person. She came up with this entire idea. This entire scene was improv. And just for the record, it kind of worried the crew that she was so good at playing such a cruel role. The character of Honeysuckle was invented I thought of an idea for a villain, and I didn't want to have your conventional male honky. I thought, what if I thought a villainous female to lead the group, semi-odd, childish, very very clever, yet very short tempered, and very like spoiled and childish. And I thought, that was my initial concept. And then when I threw some ideas with Rose. It was part me and part Rose. We both created this character. It was kind of the culmination of both of our minds coming together, and she came up with the costuming, everything. She really got in this role. And at first, I didn't really, I didn't, I thought, I had an idea that if she had this character inside of her, it would be marvelous. But Rose Person is one of the nicest and kindest people you'll ever meet, and I. And when I brought this role to her, I was kind of timid to bring it to her because I didn't know that she had any sort of mean and cruel side to her. And apparently, when the look on her face when I told her about this role, it was a look of eagerness and anticipation. And that there is Michael Hunt who plays Mo, and he was excellent in this movie. And this was just a great scene altogether. They worked really well. That Michael Hunt is Rose's brother, by the way, and as you'll see coming up, we're about to introduce Frank Stallworth, who plays DQ in the movie. He'll be coming in very soon. And as you see, they're enjoying their little joint here in this scene. This is a great scene. It's just one of the, here comes DQ. A lot of people jokingly said he had a prince-like appearance. Uh, I loved his look for this movie. I thought this was like, man, I thought his look for this movie was exactly what the late '70s kind of, avant-garde people would be wearing. And DQ is meant to be kind of an avant-garde kind of character. Of course, plays sort of the big brotherly figure, and if Honeysuckle's character had anything close to a best friend, you could definitely say that DQ would be that person. DQ is perhaps the closest to or outside of Mo in this film. And of course, they get a ham sandwich about his collections. Another thing about Ham Sandwich's character is that he always comes in short on the collection, on the bootleg collections, and of course Honeysuckle, like, it always gets her. You could tell through the scene, which is why I made the scene, so you get to know the characters. You could tell that this is something that happens all the time. Ham never, probably never ever hits up any houses. Is like, and if he does, it's probably very seldomly. And it always, of course, this is one of the reasons. Perhaps it's one of the reasons why Honey's Shankers come up short so much. And as you see, another one of Honeysuckle's favorite pastimes is to cheat her comrades out of money. And nothing pleases her more to be rolling up the dough in a great game, great friendly game of spades. And there you see that red cloth bandana Honeysuckle always has with her. She tends to clean her shank off with it whenever she's shanked somebody. I love this scene right here. Rose Person, just a brilliant actor. Look at this. Look, she shifts her eyes, but look at that. Wow, just brilliant, brilliant facial expression. She's just really good. She really loved this role. You see the guys there anticipating a loss here. I love this scene. It's just what you really. It really just brings you into circle and allows you to get a gist of what these people are like. Of course, no, DQ didn't have anything either, and of course the fifth again and yet again she collects the money. She loves nothing more. I love it. This scene right here is another favorite. I love the shot. I love the lighting. I love the way it looks. It's a very kind of, very comfortable shot. And as you see, if you notice Rose's eye, I love how she did this. Look how her eye just peers over. You tell it's just one of the most shiftiest looks. Look at that, just waiting, saying, you lost. Doesn't that face just say, you lost? That, lick the, go ahead and start licking. It's over. I love it. Thank you, thank you. Oh man, just some of the best improv. I mean, you could get here, and I for one, when we shot this scene, this was shot up in Northeast Macon, mostly East Macon up there, and up in the Stallworth residence. Very good. The house had a very very old look to it, and I loved it. And, of course, disputes. They have their regular disputes here, but this is something that obviously you could tell happens more often than not, and it appears the boys have gotten a little wise to the gal's game. Of course, you gotta have Mary Sue period listening in, eavesdropping in on the festivities that are about to take place here. Oh Lord. And it's bad when someone can't admit that they cheated. Oh man, so Honeysuckle. Oh Lord, here goes the table. Oh, I love that. Just We never saw it. That was wonderful. This is all Rose Person. She came up with the whole thing. This whole scene was all Rose Person. Here comes Robert, and Robert, by the way, just an awesome, awesome natural talent. He came into this scene as Big Smokey, and I just knew he could do this. I don't know how. It's just I know Robert had never really acted before, but I was amazed that he was able to do this so well. He he is in the film he serves as the father figure to this childlike, heartless villain. And she may not have a heart, but of course, Honeysuckle, and also probably no conscience, but she does have the mind, because this is the father here. This is the person who she's under wing with. Big Smokey in the film is, I mean, for one thing, he serves as the person who Honeysuckle will answer to, you know, and he has such I love the way Robert was able to pull this role off. It's just amazing. Scoldings, and he treats her much like a father would treat a daughter. And they're a crime family. It's lovely. Get the money back. I love that. And of course, the guys are gonna sit there, and of course, this is like nothing. We all talk behind each other's backs, and especially when you really hate your boss, and you know it goes to show that when it comes to a family business, I mean, they can talk all they want. Watch, here we go. They've been talking. Oh, here come boss lady, and of course, the man, the big brother of the group, Mo, is trying to spawn a revolution, but nothing gonna happen. Lead, come on, man. Yeah, of course they gotta follow. It's time to go to work. And I like the way we set that. I love the way they had that set up. It was just lovely. Of course, here we had I had to have my classical 70s opening musical sequence. Love it. I couldn't have done it without this. I've watched a lot of Blaxploitation, and Blaxploitation, regardless of its purpose or its promise in Hollywood, and the I just love the style. I love the conventions. I love having. I had to put in this totally just sets the mood for the film. It's time to go to work. It kind of gives you this opening sequence gives you an atmosphere of the place that these people live in, and I love how I compiled so much footage of downtown Macon, and old areas of Macon, and rundown areas. This represents a town that is a rundown town, and is run by a crime family, and everything runs through the bootlegging business. As much moonshine as you can get out there. And of course, the collections. Ham coming up with his collection. I love it. Great show of how they conduct business. And of course, Blue Sky came. Ryan Woods was definitely he served as our second unit director. He did an excellent job. And also, we like to thank Blue Sky Productions for their help in supplying us with some very, very much needed gear to make this film. I love that shot. As a matter of fact, I got this idea. One of the things of them walking together as a group. I've watched some of my favorite films have been The Big Boss, but this idea of the villains just walking down the street and taking their walk. I got this idea from a kind of from a film that entitled itself The Big Boss 2, and I went to a media play and found this. How they would sell these kung fu films and these kung fu DVDs in like packets of 4 or 6 or sometimes 8 if you get lucky. One of the packets I bought had a title in there that really intrigued. It said Big Boss 2, and I was like, what? They made this the sequel to the Bruce Lee Big Boss? And so it had nothing to do, and of course it had nothing to do with the first film. However, as soon as the film came on, I loved it. I loved the opening, and if you ever get a chance to see the Big Boss 2, it was there was an opening. The scene, the whole movie opens with a walk with the villains just walking down the street, just walking. There's music playing and the name titles come up. I loved it. They look tough. They have their own personal walks. It's, man, it's just it says all about the business. And of course, we in this opening sequence, I just wanted to show, all the workings of this town, all the workings of how where everything is. The bootlegging houses, the mill. They're a paper mill gang, and they use paper mills as a front to to create moonshine and distribute it amongst the community. And love it. Love this shot. And of course, they always use the tracks as sort of their kind of highway to different parts of town. And it's just really great. And here's some of my great title sequence work. I take pride in doing my titles. I love doing text titles with fancy effects and flashy. That's one thing I love about the '70s. Now here you see, we went into this is where we went to Forsyth to shoot this scene. This was back in 2007. I think about mid 2007, right after summer, fall, and this was there was a Soul Train party that we shot this at an actual Soul Train party, and in Forsyth. And I'd like to thank my auntie Gwen for helping us set this up. It was my auntie Gwen who was able to get this arranged where we could shoot in there, and we shot. Of course, this is where we introduce Big Smokey's son Richie and his good friend Tavington, who is a bank employee up north during these times in the '70s. And of course, you get the idea just by looking at and by David Reese there, who plays Tavington, by the way. David Reese did an excellent job. I I was so impressed when I first met him. I knew I would use this guy in a movie. And of course, Booker T there. We call him T. He is just a natural. If I could describe him, he's a natural. And if you've ever, he also played one of the crucial villain roles in my earlier film, Bad Day Funk. And as you can see, the '70s scene just really set the tone. I loved it. Again, I thank my auntie Gwen for giving us this opportunity to set something up like that, to introduce the characters and kind of get that '70s vibe for the film. Of course, we have our record players, and this scene right here this was the very first scene we ever shot of the movie. This was shot back in late 2006. That there was supposed to be the principal actor. However, we just used this as kind of an example to show how the Shankers recruit people. Of course, there during this time, the Vietnam War is starting to wind down and still going strong, but the late '70s is starting to wind down. People are coming home, and some of them are just wandering. Sometimes they find themselves post-traumatic stress wandering. Of course, when they come through these towns, who better to recruit to be a shanker than a military trained, loose cannon and wanderers and drifters. And of course, Big Smokey sends out his crew the shankers to go recruit. And of course, they run into, here comes the mayor, played by Roy B. Swaggart III. Of course, you got to have Roy in there. And the mayor is, in this movie, the mayor really, the role of the mayor is to get Big Smokey out of the town. He's a depressed, drunken mayor who, yeah, I mean, by looking at the town, you can imagine why he's so depressed and, so misdressed, and just wanders around the town like anybody else. He almost is like, I mean, you would think the mayor was a derelict, and that's just a kind of representation of how low this town has gone under the dictatorship of a moonshine gang. And of course, there's the short fuse of Honeysuckle. And I gotta say, this was one of my favorite introductory scenes. Here comes Brandon Thompson, and I gotta say, Brandon Thompson played an awesome deputy here. Of course, in these small towns, the sheriff would just probably send this deputy down, and I had talked to a few people. The sheriff would rarely come through, but he'd send this deputy through, and of course, the deputy was respected as if he were the sheriff. So here's the deputy, and of course he for any moonshine gang to run a town in the county, or the county sheriff must perhaps get, some kind of love packages, or, in this case, donations to local authorities is also very much appreciated. From what the moonshiners would call legitimate business tax. Oh God, I love it. This scene was great, and it just, the looks on the Rose played this scene like a pro. The facial expressions in this were priceless. This is also kind of, a little remnants of how the how the sheriff's office might feel about new recruits to the gang, and you have to come in and lay down the law, I guess. Of course, the mayor looking on. He's just in the background now. Oh man, this was a great scene. Here comes the gum. Oh God, Brandon was brilliant. He played this so well it scared everybody. Everybody on the set was literally scared. And it's great when an actor can take a role and just run with it. Like look at this, she is so natural. I really felt like we were back in the old South here. When you're filming this, I mean, you're looking through a window in the monitor. It's just wonderful. Of course, there's Kenneth Rozier Jr., my dear cousin, who plays Tic Tac, and of course, my goodness, they hand her back her shank now. I love that scene. And yeah, it's just recruiting. This was the first scene we ever shot, and that was gonna be my antagonist. And it didn't really pan out the way I intended, but we were able to get the scene together for the most part, and I was happy that this is where Honeysuckle first came to be. Rose showed up on the set dressed like that, and at first when she showed up, I didn't even recognize her, and when I saw her, I was just like, oh my God, literally. I was just like, oh my God. I was in sheer disbelief. And this that just shows. I mean, like I said, I told you, Rose came up with that whole character mostly. I just came up with the ideas. We kind of put our heads together for that one. Of course, the here's a scene where the deputy is to go up and kind of perhaps make a few maybe complaints about the difficulties in collecting donations, and the fact that it shouldn't be that difficult perhaps. Of course, when donations are late, that's a problem. Here's the mayor. It looks like he's trying to. In this scene, I wanted to throw together a little bit of a plot for the sequel coming up. That perhaps somebody might have it in for Big Smokey, and maybe it's the mayor, of course. Wanting to get him out of town and trying to hire help to arrange an accident, perhaps. Well, you guys will just have to tune in for the sequel on that one. But for now, we wanted to kind of make this movie a character study on Honeysuckle, and this is just some of the difficulties that she had to deal with in this film. Um, as you can see there, I love that Robert was able to pull a sweat right there, and of course, it just really brings out the pressure of the situation, the the hesitation, the pressure, the problems, and the mayor making a deal, trying to see about getting some business done. This is how dealings in this town are done. And yes, Honeysuckle is hot-headed. That's just a little bit of emphasis on that fact. And I love this shot. I was so lucky to find this shot. That sign right there gives a lot of messages as to our protagonist here who comes into town, the stranger, played by Anthony Oyola, and obviously he just got back from the war, and he's coming in. He's just like a drifter, just there's no name, no words, just a drifter. And with that, this also represents another one of Honeysuckle's tribulations in this film. She deals with a lot of tribulation, a time limit, pressure to get funds into the sheriff's office, a stranger coming in, which will cause her some very considerable trouble, and of course like I said, Richie coming back, and there's just a lot of things that Honeysuckle deals with in this film, and this is just a great shot. I was, like I said, we were very fortunate to find some of these shots. We totally did a lot of location scouting early in production to find some of these locations and set up some of these shots. This particular shot right here is my favorite shot. I love this shot. It is. I almost wanted to extend it even longer, but I didn't want to hold it too long, so I cut it down. That original shot I held for a while. I loved it. Of course, here, this scene right that we're about to go through right now here. Of course, you have her two closest buddies there, her big brother figure and her best friend figure, DQ and Mo, and they sit at their little hangout spot right there at the edge of town. That they always hang out at this little spot right here, and that's how they watch. They just watch the people pass by, and they talk about people. It's kind of like what they do during. It's kind of like their break hour here. It's kind of like a little break hour area. Here comes of course, here comes the people, the main people players of the town there. Here comes your deputy, and just to emphasize that y'all need to get that money in on time, or there will be some rope drawn. I love this scene. It goes away laughing. I love that. DQ, yeah, that was totally improv. I loved it. I mean, wouldn't you? My God, this is just great stuff, and you just look. The lines here were just great. Just discussing what goes on in town. How it really gets this just more emphasis on the place these characters live in and the people they deal with. Of course, here's the mayor. The mayor continues to try to hold city hall meetings and get this town to get to band together. You know, however, they they're not going. They're not going to show up. And there's the drunken mayor as he struttles along. This is just normal daily practice. The scene is supposed to convey to you that this what happens almost just about every day. It's the same thing, and here comes somebody they haven't seen yet. Anthony Ayola comes through. Anthony, like I said, played this role like a pro. It was wow. I originally had the idea for the character to be silent. I watched. I really didn't think he needed to say anything. I thought that sometimes silent characters say more than characters who talk to me, and that's just the way I felt about it. Of course, he is. Yeah, he's armed with his daggers and everything. Of course, you'll find later that those aren't his real weapons, as his little blades there. And of course, you see Honeysuckle, of course, sizing him up, and notices how dangerous this person might be. I love the way they played this. DQ's the gutsy guy. Of course, he's gonna get in your face. He's gonna be like, "That's his best friend there. You gonna disrespect us like that? Get off our block." I love it. You know, sometimes that. Of course, Honeysuckle lets him go, probably in having in mind that a little bit of respect because she has a little military background herself, which we will probably bring to light later on. And gonna let it. She knows about drifters. The thing about Honeysuckle's character, she knows about drifters. And here you see the introduction of another one of Honeysuckle's tribulations, and represented by Ace, played by Cornell South, aka DJ Direct. And you'll see why he is a tribulation to Honeysuckle, or a trial here. Just something that another one of her many troubles in this film. You'll see why later on. And here's our stranger. He has become a little hungry in this scene. So when we shot this scene, this was shot over. Definitely, we were going to do a shot inside. We just didn't have the production time to do it. Not saying that we won't use this place. We will be coming back and perhaps shooting and perhaps getting those indoor shots. It's an old cafe over near in the central part, over in the Central City Park area. Going back to old going back on the old side on the other side of the train tracks in Macon, that being over Martin Luther King Boulevard. And this is another one of my favorite scenes in the film. This right here is one of my favorite scenes in the film. It's time to bring in your collections for the first quarter here, and of course, Big Smokey is waiting very eagerly, and Robert Robert played this scene perfectly. It was a flawless scene. I love this shot in particular. I came up with that shot because I wanted. I just kind of I watched a lot of westerns, and I just really love it. I'd encourage anybody to watch westerns. They really give you an insight. And of course, see here, guys talking about they had her back, like hell they did. Here she is by the. Here we go. Get ready for the money shot, guys, because here it comes. Money shot. This was a real shot. Ooh, man, man, Rose and Robert just they work so well together. It's amazing. It's like father and daughter scolding and get back to work. You know, anybody can relate to that. You know, that figure in your life that will set you straight. You know. Of course, there's Mary Sue. She continuously being held at the house for her darling Richie, who I think she could do better without. However, here comes Richie and Tavington in town. This was we just went out one day and shot these scenes. We chose random places around Macon and used random different shots just to kind of show, I wanted to kind of show an arrival, like Richie and Tavington in this film represent a clock. They are a pending they represent a pending event, and they take their time as they will come into town. It's kind of like a leisure trip from up north, where Richie goes to school, and you know a lot of things explain themselves from there. Okay, and here we have Honeysuckle, and I love this scene. Just really emphasizing to the guys that it's time to get serious. After having been scolded, Rose played this very well. This was just, man, it's like one of those rallies, like one of those rally speeches, you know, motivating motivating crime to be executed efficiently. Bad, let's get it, let's go. I love it. I'm not gonna hang for anybody today. Indeed, she will not. And like I said, see, Richie and Tavington, they represent a clock. They are the clock. They are a clock of another impending event. They are the clock of a pending sequence of events that will take place later on. And as they come into town, this was just, we went out and shot the scene in relatively an hour, and I was so, it was so fun to be out with T and David there. That 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 is David Reese, by the way. If I hadn't mentioned before, David Reese plays Tavington, and of course Booker T. Reed, the third there playing Richie, and this is up there and near the park, and this is more of the old industrial area of Macon, and we used this scene because it was perfect for, it had a look I really liked about it being an old town, an old mill town being used, using storage facilities to store bootleg and whiskey and all kinds of things, moonshine, everything you want, and here he orders Tavington to go search for everyone having been out, and they can't seem to find anyone when they come in town. The story was originally supposed to be that what it is Honeysuckle has rallied everyone to go out and collect more money for the pay off the deputy. So now in this next scene, the noose there representing death, and also Honeysuckle's consequence if she does not get the money. Um, and the church represents the law here, as Brandon Thompson stands on the law. The sheriff, the deputy, standing on the law, and the law. Of course, is the church is white, therefore the law is white, white with a cross on top. Is the cross meant to hang over something so conflicted? And I wanted this scene to contain this much stark contrast. It was this. I wanted the contrast in there and the conflict, and of course, they make it in time. And this was just an extra scene we threw in the show. The boredom of being held as a as a human hostage or as a human prize in Big Smokey's house, locked in. And of course, here is Ace. And there goes another sequence of events that's about to be set off here. Ace in this movie, Cornell, he plays, well, perhaps I would say that this is Honeysuckle's. This will later become Honeysuckle's main opposition, but this is definitely the one that really gets under her skin of all her agitations. And as you see, he's good. Is in terms of being a fee collector, he is good on the edge of. I made Ace out to be the person who would always show Honeysuckle up. Oh yeah, he really shows her up in terms of doing the work. He always shows her up, but the true mystery is how he manages to always outdo her. It's just apparently, and frankly, Honeysuckle in the story had been around far longer than Ace. I mean, she had been in the game a while, and he comes along and is just a wizard. He is just the ace. He's the collection ace. And of course, Davington, no, you cannot outright speak of gambling to someone on the up and up. Yeah. Of course, here comes Honeysuckle, the street, to bring in her second quarter collection of the day, which, as you shall see, perhaps it perils in comparison with Ace's take for the day. Ace's what we'll see what she's bringing in.
What we got today, Smokey.
My God, and the difference is painfully obvious. Oh, oh God, Cornell played this so well. It's lovely how Corey played this, played by Corey there, and there's man, Robert, he's just good. What can I say? Robert really got in this role quick, and it was such short notice that I asked him to do this role, but he jumped right into it so well, and he knows about collecting money. he Robert always expressed to me that this role was a chance for him to, for him to try something out that he really enjoy, that he really found that he enjoyed. And he said himself, Big Smokey represents the old ways of doing things, the traditional ways, the traditional principles of getting the job done, banding together as a family, and getting things done, taking care of business is what Robert always expressed it as when he put himself into the role of Big Smokey. It's all about getting things done and banding together as he's stressed. As you see right now, he is in this scene. This scene was just to really emphasize their structure, the way the hierarchy is determined in these groups, and the way the old ones like Big Smokey run things with the younger generation trying to come up, and it's always expressed that the older ones are trying to bring the younger ones up out the street. However, they make the younger ones run the street just so that they get the experience, and they learn how to take care of business. And the lessons are learned just like any family. It's really, I wanted this scene to be a semi-odd, lecture, a scolding of sorts on crime, on doing crime, professionally and efficiently. You know, of course, Corey was. Look at Corey. He was lovely in this role. And look, you could tell he's semi gloating there. It's just great. In the scene, I wanted Ace to play off of Honeysuckle's insecurities as leader. I wanted Ace to be Honeysuckle's opposition, and her the one thing that can get under her skin. You know, Ace, he's unmoving. He is, and he represents that part of that person in everyone's life who is all when the old saying, there's always somebody better. There's always somebody who can do it better. The Honeysuckle, this very experienced leader who happens to be female, and she'd have to be damned good to be female and leader of a moonshine gang, and and he's in one of these rough towns, and you know, the, the one thing about it is, she that childish side of her. Of course, there's jealousy, there's there's hate, and I love that scene because if you noticed, he didn't flinch 1 inch. Corey played it to a T. Now here we set up a nice game of cat and mouse here. Um, a nice a nice game of conflicting wills here. Tavington, noticing that Honeysuckle, covets money, and he, of course, being a bank employee from up north, has more than his fair stacks. And of course, I wanted the one it gives for Honeysuckle, money is a high. It is the one thing that she loves, and Tavington, of course, trying to tame the beast and impress the lady. And the one thing he doesn't realize that Honeysuckle is anything but feminine. However, she does have the capacity to be feminine. Therefore, she's going to go ahead and play, vulnerable to Tavington's advances, and because Tavington has something she wants, of course, and it's the cat. She is like a fox, a cat. She in those eyes, Rose Person, just just the most brilliant face, the most brilliant use of facial expressions. Now here in this scene, I wanted to show the stranger. Is he, at night? It's getting late evening here, and he decides to go ahead and begin, investigating a few of these facilities. What's going on. He sees how corrupt the town is, and decides to pay one of the moonshine facilities a visit, as he is a wanderer and he's seeking his second chance. Now, this scene here, I have to say, is arguably the best scene I've ever shot thus far in my film career. This scene conveys so many messages on so many different levels. First being that Tavington, representing the new guy in town, doesn't know anybody, but wants acceptance, wants to impress the lady. He's the guy. He's the guy we know. He's the, everybody knows somebody like this, or may have been this guy. Everybody has been this guy before. The guy, you're new in town. You you talk a big game, and you want to impress the in crowd. You want to be one of the cool kids, one of the cool guys. And of course, you come in there and you pull out your look at Tavington pulling out the big stack, trying to impress the lady there. You know, Honeysuckle only too happy to keep this charade up, as she has set up this false card game as a rouge of friends to go ahead and get a hold of some of Tavington's stack, if not all of it. And of course, they make up the festivities. Of course, for them this is it's no practice. They all they gotta do is have a good time. Honeysuckle set up this whole thing, and the funny thing is, I meant this whole scene to be a rouge. This whole scene, this whole interaction, this whole good time they seem to have, is meant to be an act. And I wanted to convey that in the scene. I want to convey, of course, DQ getting at Ham about hiding sandwiches under the table, and you have, of course, you have Honeysuckle's suspicion and Honeysuckle
Hit it again.
winning
Hit it
hands,
again.
all
Hit it
already
again.
offhand, just
What is
winning.
that? Is that some kind of
And
code or something, partner?
of course, I
Yeah.
wanted I wanted this scene to feel somewhat dangerously comfortable. You're in the room with a bunch of low
Sometime that you
lives,
bit that sandwich, is
and
that a code or something
yet
you going by, brother?
this scene, this here is
Man, I'm just trying to play
hilarious.
cards, man. That's all I'm trying to do, man.
It's horrendous.
Watch it.
And, of course,
Ah.
Honey focused on
Stay up, please.
collecting the money, of course. Oh man! Hey, as you noticed, each man at the table, own they have their own select amounts of money that they're gonna play, and it's kind of strange how everybody's going to go out so early in this game and turn it into a draw between Tavington and Honey. Also, Honey using the ploy to. I wanted this scene to make Tavington, to have the character of Tavington feel that he was up in the ranks in this hierarchy of being a new guy, but nah, he's a big roller. He's a high roller, and nobody else can. That Honeysuckle wanted to bring out that nobody else can hang with him. It's that feeling of acceptance and status that I try to convey in this scene. Of course, this scene where they bicker amongst each other is to make them feel inferior, and of course, Tavington trying to show the feeling you get when you're in a room of people who seem, somewhat ignorant to your more sophisticated ways, and you try to counsel them. You try to. It's almost as if I wanted the scene to seem as a talking down. The men in this room seem so primitive, and so they seem so savage of sorts. I wanted that to be conveyed as well. This is a lot. This scene has a lot of messages and a lot of things. Of course, they begin playing, and there's a feeling of comfort here. The laughter, the enjoyment, just the booze are starting to get in, and people are starting to have a good time here. Let's play cards, and of course 10 in, and you notice that nobody's going in except
You got 10?
Mr. Tavington, and of course everybody, and you gotta wonder, everybody's just purposely going out at certain points, Tavington having not noticed, thinking that, he's the only one that can hang with Honeysuckle in this room. And yeah, I mean, he can hang with her as long as she allows it. And, he doesn't know that. She is the one in control in this scene. I love the way this was conveyed. And pretty soon this little streak of bad luck is going to turn into an emasculation. It's going to, of sorts, be a way of Honeysuckle castrating this character who decided to come in balls ablazing. Look at that, Rose person. Just the facial expressions, the eye shifting. The, these are all signs of just a first class acting. And of course, Honeysuckle is there. Yep, Honeysuckle definitely gonna make sure she has the win. She has complete control, and you gotta wonder, she's gonna. And of course, her whole objective here is to clean out the rich boy. Look at this, lovely. Just I love these shots, and I love it's so interpersonal, and you gotta wonder where the hell that came from. Luck, I wonder.
Yeah.
Davington, having figured. Damn, I love that. I put that cut in there. Like, damn, I love that. I love the facial expressions the guys made. Yeah, leaned out, but you know, I love this part. David sold this. Just and to think, like I said, this is all improv. Every bit of it was improv. We went by an outline. We did have a script, but I love improv because you get stuff of this nature that you can't get. The natural feeling of the room. Tavington still holding on, still having his control, still feeling that he can maintain control. Tavington keeping his composure, and I love the looks. I
That's
put
what
in
I'm
these
talking
looks.
about.
I wanted
That's
it
what I'm
to
talking
be
about.
such a disgusting display of a slaughter. It's like a slow. I made the scene to be a slow, drunken death, a kind of a real slow emasculation. And the men at the table, if you notice, will begin to become disgusted. But as of late, this is, of course, I threw this in there. This was the Armand Cabanis just had me rolling this whole film, and he was just great. I mean, of course, and as you notice, Tavington's hands are getting a lot slower. We tried to convey the time. This is kind of a display of how time passes here, and there's your ham sandwich right there, of course. And, yep, there was a sandwich under the table, and this is all time passing here.
Drop
The
my
drinking,
cards.
the
What in the
the
world is
chomping, and
going
you
on
can only imagine how
right
much
here?
money is being lost in these periods of time. I mean, while all this is going on, this is just to convey with every cup. There's money. There's dollar. There's about a few dollars gone with every cup. And Honeysuckle is just building her stack up. Pretty soon, Tavington's stack will be hers. Tavington, by now, probably having gone through every stack in his coats.
You got any more
Honeysuckle
drink,
is
honey?
We got plenty.
I love this scene.
Go get him something else to drink.
Yeah, fill me
She's
up.
she's she's not finished yet.
I'll tell
This
you when
scene
I got enough, man.
Yeah,
is
he'll tell you when
it
he
has
got
so
enough.
many sexual references here. As you see here, this is the opening scene to our upcoming action sequence, where the stranger has infiltrated the factory here, and they have discovered him. And yeah, so many
Hey, you back
sexual
at it right.
references in this. Has he done had enough or whatnot? No, he hasn't.
You doing in here? What the hell you
Or
doing in
rather,
my
she
house?
hasn't had enough. And of
Sorry,
course,
turkey.
I brought it in here. That's
Big
how you do it.
Smokey,
Smokey, how you gonna bring
I
her up in
brought
of course,
here?
it. You
bringing
playing cards, play cards.
I'm
Okay?
saying
bringing
Smokey, don't
Ace
lie
up,
place. You know what
her
I'm saying?
up into the card
He ain't
We
house.
got
playing me,
business.
Smokey.
We got
And she's
business.
not
You
too
know what
happy
I
about
mean?
that, of course.
Play
Man, I
cards,
love
party
this
games.
part scene right here coming up as they ride up, as you'll see coming up here in just a second. Ace,
Can you hold on for a little bit?
Tavington is just trashed right now, and it, David got this down fairly quickly. It was for first time. David really played drunk well. I also got this little action scene right here from
You gonna
watching
mess everything up. You
a
doing
lot of
it. Oh, you
samurai
been working
films
for
and
these
curse
last
out
few
films.
days.
The
Now you gonna
running
mess it all up.
sideways, the game
Look,
position.
I ain't asked you
You
for
know
nothing.
the
What you
And of
brought me, I
course,
took
there's
it.
Tabitha
I took
getting
what
some
you gave
extra.
me. I know
Oh
you got
man,
smoking.
with all this
I
ruckus
want you to
going on,
have some, but
Tabitha
look,
is
you don't have
still
none of it.
focused
What
on
did I tell you
drinking,
before?
and
Didn't I
he's
tell
just
you that?
staying out of it. And like I said, very. I watch a lot of Japanese cinema, and I just love that sideways running they do. In the camera pan, I just love this shot. I used it in
Why is he moving
Bad Day
around my
Funk
face,
as
Smokey?
well, when Inspector
You
Mabia
need to
took
get out
on
there. You need to
took
move
on
out there.
the dreaded
You need to get out
the
there.
dreaded swordsman guy with the dreads, and
Back up.
that was played by my good friend Kenny, who did an excellent job, by the way. This here, a good old flashback to 70s effects. I just wanted to have that kind of awesome retro sound wave special attack move grapple, and of course he reels him in and shanks him good with his knife. And of course, there's Pierre Harris. You can't have a movie. I mean, you can't have a Daniel Kahn Nelson film without Pierre Harris. It just, I have to put. I don't know why I always put this guy in my films. It's just something about him that's special. And Pierre Harris is of my most, if arguably my most committed performer. This guy, he is just a magic about him, and you just have to put him in the film somewhere. here's
I'm
I
good.
love
I'm
this
good.
scene right here.
Happy
Ace,
birthday,
you know,
bro.
notice that he's getting a little getting a little low, and of course, wanting to impress the lady. He doesn't need help from anybody, but I don't think Honey has a problem with it. So much, man. It's just so many messages in these scenes. I love it. Pierre Harris, just an awesome all around performer. Has been in some of my most violent scenes, and he also was a long time running staple on our wrestling broadcast that aired on California Kid One, my other channel, where we aired AWS Intensity, which for a long time was considered the greatest backyard wrestling show in history. I say that I say that humbly. Yeah, but here we go. Robert in this scene just trying to calm down the heat of Honeysuckle, and I love this. Noticing that the boy is in trouble.
He's fine. He's
Big
fine.
Smokey
He's
easily
playing
being
coach.
ployed away,
That's
trying to make sure he's all right. Yeah.
Look at him.
Oh man. Yeah, you're back in the game.
He back in the game.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just funny that has he had enough yet, or is he of course, Davidson. I love this scene because we really showed. I think it showed really well. You know, and all of us have been in a situation where we've allowed peer pressure to let us to lead us to doing stupid and foolish things. And of course, here Tavington, a victim of pride. And that's what I wanted to get across here. Tavington is definitely a victim of his own pride. He's a victim of his own ego and his own pride, and it's overcome his better judgment. And that's what I wanted to show in this scene. And of course, Honeysuckle,
Did y'all bring him
just
something to drink?
Rose person, just really, she was more than eager to really get into the role. As you see here, Rose, to my knowledge, does not smoke, and yet she was very excited to smoke a cigar. And if you watch the extra features, you'll see just how Corey came on the set and taught her how to smoke a cigar. And look at that look, so evil and heartless. Just, are you ready to spin that big stack you got? So many sexual references here. It's just crazy. How much stamina do you have? Can you hang with me? If you're a real man, you can hang with me. Come on, real man. Want to impress the lady, the pride. Look at those eyes. Just evil, heartless. Just, man, sucking the life. I'm in that look right there. Just brilliant by Rose Person, expressing kind of even a disgust with herself for a slight moment before seeing the money laid out. And yeah, I mean, she's done. She's has experience over him, and it's just portrayed so well. Rose told me when it came to the scene, she just fed off of everybody in the room. She feeds off of the actors in the scene, and she does it so brilliantly. This is done. It's beyond words how awesome this performance was by her in this scene. I'm sure we've all had situations where we let our pride get the better of us, and we did something very stupid and very rash. In this case, Tavington, his character flaw is he's a gambling addict, and he's naive, a naive gambling addict, and now he's drunk and he's about to make the ultimate mistake. Great acting by Rose Person.
It's time for you to go.
See here,
I thought we were
I
friends.
don't have to cheat. She to this moment she won't
How could you
admit
do
it.
this to me,
Just
honey?
love it.
I told them.
True villainy coming from a character that the kind of villainy I was looking for, just heartless villainy, greed, complete greed. And like I said earlier, Honeysuckle is the representation of greed, and there he just, man, just right into the chase scene. Yes, in a Daniel Kahn Nelson film, you gotta have a chase scene, and this is my chase scene for this film. I'm going to kill you, Tavington. And we also did a little parody where Rose sang kind of a song where we want to do kind of one of those old music commercials where we had a big Smokey collection where she actually sang lyrics to a song where we made up called "You Gon' Die, Tavington." I loved it. Cause yeah, you gonna die, Tavington. This scene, this that running scene, by the way, I actually fell off of a car in trying to film it, and I fell off the dolly, and I nearly nearly damaged the camera, but I was managed to save the camera. That's what I was always taught. Jerome DeGratinier always taught me, save the camera. That's one thing I learned at Making State. Save the camera. And of course the Shankers. I love these shots. These in my opinion were some of my best shots. And I wanted to capture just that they're alluding to some of Honeysuckle's tracking abilities. You know, she's supposed to have somewhat of a military training background, which I will probably get into in the sequel, but we won't cover it here. And of course, these just some. I really love my own camera work here and the way I was able to get this scene out. You know, really get across just the anxiousness, the eagerness to to get revenge. And Honeysuckle just literally not totally forgetting. Just such in such anger that she's forgotten that Tavington is Richie's best friend, the boss's son's best friend. But right now she's overcome with malice, and it's just a great performance. This, in my opinion, from what I've seen, has been Rose Person's finest performance. And it's just when you get together and you're able to make a good film like this, there's no better feeling to sit up and watch it on screen and see things like this, like your chase sequences, and see how they work out. On this scene, we had Tavington run down the road, and we were so blessed and lucky to find enough sets to make this movie, like this old abandoned house set with the record player. And I left the music playing in this scene because that scene right there, just a complete wonderful pan, and totally uncut. Like I like to leave less cut. Look at this. This was such a great idea, and it's good when you're making films to have more continuity. Try not to put in too many cuts, and of course we get that old 70s slashing effect. I love it. Like I said, I love a lot of 70s conventions, and of course I'm gonna throw them in there. And Tavington dies.
Told you I was gonna kill your ass.
And again, just great acting on the part of Rose Person. And gotta give it up to David Reese. That was for a first time. That was an awesome performance. This is one of my personal favorite scenes. No words needed, but pretty much you get all you need from these expressions. Oh, I better get that money, and the look on Rose's face, like she sold this. She do. It's just, man, this is all improv, guys. I mean, literally everything here was improv. A good 80% of this film was all improv, and this is improv at its best, guys. I mean, this whole film was done in the tradition of the old guerrilla films from the 70s and late 60s, and just the way the art of telling a story and improvising, to save budget and time. If you know the character, if your actors know their motivations, they know their directions, they know their characters' three basic desires, their three basic purposes. You can tell a story without having them follow a full script. You can tell a story. A story can be told as long as you understand the course of events. Now, this scene right here, I personally crafted this scene to have a lot of innuendos and conundrums. If you watch carefully, Honeysuckle having her signature green apple, which the props committee provided at a very high price, and of course, there is a basket of red apples, and part of which Honeysuckle's origins deal with red apples. She hates red apples, despises them. Why does the character of Honeysuckle despise red apples? A red apple, it's it's sweet. Red apples are soft. And look in those eyes in this scene, complete agitation, aggravation, and disgust for an apple, for the goodness, the softness. It is said that the Granny Smith version of the apple was made in the 1800s, and is considered it was a chance seeding and is considered to be a hybrid. Green apples are tart and bitter and can be bitter at times. Red apples are sweet. And if you notice here, look at the facial expression, the eyes, the relaxing taste of 1880 and the red apple, and the bitter tartness and frustration of 1868 with the green apple. The bee trying to find its way. For honeysuckle, it's tart and crisp. If you were to view the apples as representations or personifications of ways of life, then the foreseeable outcome of this scene is left with but one conclusion. And the one thing I said after filming this scene to describe it was, how about dim apples?
Say something, punk.
And of course, for honeysuckle, there is no tranquility. Her apple has no tranquility.
Punk right now.
That's what I meant. This scene, I wanted to convey a stark contrast between these two characters. I wanted to have that, and I want and as a follow up, you'll see here coming up that this that silence, that whole scene, this whole situation has gotten totally got under Honeysuckle's skin, probably more so than what's coming up. As you'll see now, Honeysuckle with her green apple spits it out, and can she take another bite? Of course not. Not after that. That said a lot. That scene conveyed in that scene. I wanted to convey that it got to her soul, and of course, somebody happened to pay Mary Sue a visit and spring her. Can anybody say spring? Of course. I love that scene. Kiera Rozier, my cousin, plays this role very nicely. The innocent look on her face, and of course making her escape after being set free. And now, of course, I love the music in this scene. Especially, I wanted the music to convey an old ragtime feeling of despair. And I first I had no music over this, but after hearing this one song I heard, I found that on a YouTube video. It was an old record somebody had and played it, decided to play it, and I heard it, and I said, man, this is wonderful. This is exactly what you could play during a scene like this. It's almost Tom and Jerry-ish. It almost reminds me of the old theatrical shorts of Tom and Jerry when they used to play songs like this, or the old Merry Melody shorts, or the Disney Symphony shorts with those old instrumentals. And of course, here's Ace coming in with his last quarter collection there. Doing well as always, and Robert played this so well, looking directly. Of course, and then, like I said, this is more of Honeysuckle's tribulations, the things that have been plaguing this character. Honeysuckle is not meant to be a protagonist; she's an antagonist. But this film is meant to show that even the antagonist deals with trials and tribulations of life and things that beset the character. And as you can see, just total depression as the boss's son is on his way home, and his his lady is gone, and when a certain somebody was supposed to be watching, that
all our company
that's
going
very
on.
special lady
Who's keeping
of
tabs on
Richie's,
everything? Everything is out of
and
circulation. What's going
I
on?
love
What's up?
how
What's
Robert
up?
played this. Robert played this to
My
a T.
son, I haven't
It
seen
was
him.
oh,
So now
the
I'm getting ready
the
to find
father
out
figure.
what's
You
coming with
know,
everything here. What's
just
going
really
on?
sad that he let his son
I
down. You
mean, we
know,
need to
the
do better
lady
than
is
what we're doing.
gone, and
I mean, the
you
money
know
is
the
fine right
crew
now, but
didn't
that's
come through
secondary.
because they were too focused
We don't
on
have to lose no
collections and
contact with the
everything. Of
family.
course, Big Smokey would never
Nobody
blame
gets
himself for
lost
focusing on
in this
collections. You
organization.
know,
Nobody.
Honeysuckle's
Lady at
responsibility
that.
was to watch the daughter, and she was not present.
Hold on, Miss
And as
Mama.
you'll see, this is going to
Lady,
explode into a
how long
very
has he been
hilarious
around with her?
situation, which
What's been with him
I love
all of
this,
these
and
years,
I
and
love
now
the
he
setting
just
here
what's
that
going on?
the set we shot on here was definitely the it was definitely a Stallworth
We got to do
residence.
better than what we're doing.
Very lovely
We
place,
got to do
and
better than what we're doing because
Frank and his
everything is getting
family
out of
were just
circulation.
more than
Money's coming in.
I
We
mean
see that,
they
don't you?
were
We're no
wonderful,
chumps.
very great people.
We got a
When you
family.
make
We
films,
don't
it's
lose
good
no
to
members of
know
the
people.
family.
Make sure you go out
Now,
and meet people,
some third creature
network.
picked up,
And
or
when
what?
they say
What's going on?
one, a
Something picked up.
wise
Somebody need
person
to
once
find
told me
out
that
what's
your
happening.
network is your net worth,
He got his in the street. He
and
should know.
that is
What's
true
going
to a
on?
T. And here you go,
I'm sitting right
Rose
here.
improving this to
Why you
perfection.
worried about it?
Rose
Why you
person
worried
here,
about it? You supposed to have
just getting
your
into
ear
it
to
with
the street,
Ace.
right? So you
I
should know
mean,
where she at.
Honeysuckle
Where is she?
is
Where
the
is she?
epitome
Okay, but you can come in here big
of
and bad with a big
jealousy
stack of money,
and
right?
blame
And
and
point fingers,
greed, and
right?
it
Okay,
just totally
whatever.
comes out here. You
Whatever.
know,
My
when you're
crew sitting
down
right here.
That's why
and
we
you're
here, brother.
getting
We want to know
kicked,
what's going on, man. That's why we
you
here.
shout.
That's why
Everybody
we here.
just calm
And
down and
that's
just
what
figure
came
out
out here,
what
and I
we need to
love
do.
this. There
Why
is
he asked us what's going
my
on, man.
goodness. There's
Did he?
Raymond, and there's Frank
If he don't know
Stallworth
what's
there,
going on, how
DQ,
can he
just
feel
really
us and know where
you
we
know,
coming from? You know
shifting
what I'm
blame
saying?
back and
This is
forth,
why our sisters
arguing as
upset
a
about this
family
brother. He
would. You
ain't
know,
doing his
whose
job.
fault is it? You
Yeah,
know,
but see,
He
why?
making all this
what
money,
I'm
man.
saying,
What
He
can
ain't
we
even in
do
the
to fix
street
the
to know what's
problem?
going
You
on.
know,
and find out
it's
all
very
the
you know. And
damn
in the
more.
background, you have there's one shot I didn't get to put in there is how many people were standing in the background. We had some extra henchmen in there, and you'll see one of them. You'll see some more of them. Like we had extra henchmen all over the place, and it was really enjoyable. Um, Great stuff, and you know, here of course here's Richie, and this is some of the best acting in the film. Just the reactions. I told the guys, I told everybody to, you know, act as if
Good to be back.
you
Great
know
to be back.
you've done this. I mean, everybody
Hey,
has
where is
experienced
she?
this when they know they failed at something, and somebody's expectation. They know they've done something. They know they've really screwed up, and you know when
I'm back. That's all that
generally when you
matters. I'm back.
screw up and the boss comes
So
home,
where
the
is she?
boss' son or something, like how would you react? You know, you lost this man's love, and you know you lost the love of this man's life, who he had kidnapped at his home. You're in a crime family, and you know and the one thing I wanted Richie to be is I wanted him to be off. I wanted Richie
I'm
to
good.
have
Where is she at?
a psychicism. He is a sociopath. He is meant to be. Richie is nuts. Richie is a psycho. And even his father knows he's a psycho.
So where's
And of
Lady?
course, everybody knows the consequences of
Mary's
failing
still
Richie.
back.
And that's what I wanted to get by in this film. It's just the aspect of dread and you know and fear of this loose cannon, this trip hammer of a man who
No, where is she?
of a young
Where is
man
she?
who you know everybody else they're the Shankers. They carry knives and blades and they live by the old ways that Smokey taught them. But Richie comes from up north, and of course Richie carries a firearm, and I was inspired. Richie's character was inspired by the gang leader's son in Kira Kurosawa's Yojimbo, where he came, where you know the rest of them were using swords, and this man came in with a firearm, and he was feared for it. He could just shoot them down, and if you ever get a chance, definitely check out some of Akira Kurosawa's work. I watch all the films; they're just great. It's a great tool for getting your film wings, and you definitely need to check out some of the old samurai films from the early days of the 50s and 60s, and you know those are just wonderful films that I recommend to anyone. Those early those early 1930s and 40s films and all those old
Listen, hold on, hold
samurai
on. Wait,
pictures
wait, have a seat. Wait,
and those epics.
calm down.
Shogun's Assassin.
Calm down, son.
Just great
Calm
inspirations for
down.
filmmakers.
Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down now. Calm
Yeah,
down.
and
Calm
T
down.
played this role so well, it
Calm down so we
terrified
can
us at
talk to you,
points.
man. We ain't.
How
I
well
can't
he
talk to
played
you
this.
when you're like this, man. You got to get control,
If you
man.
if
Let
you
us talk
if
to
you'd
you.
happened to been on the set, you
Put
would
the
have been
gun down,
actually a
man.
little bit scared at
Put the
how
gun
deep
down,
into this
man.
role
Listen to your
T
father.
got.
Put the
T
gun down,
really
man. Let
knew
us
how to
talk to you.
play
Put the
a
gun down.
mentally troubled, emotionally distressed,
It's gonna be all right.
distraught, disgruntled young man who is about to lose it over a girl.
He's gonna be
He
located. Everybody's gonna get
and
out of
probably
this.
from
We all
of
wanna make
course
movies.
I won't go into
Cops
his
don't even circle
personal
the block.
business because it's my
Gonna be all
cousin,
right.
but
Don't worry.
he has had some
Now, hold.
experience with relationships, and believe me, this may have not been as difficult for him as you may
Come back
think.
here. Son.
I'll leave it at that. However, T is just really,
Honeysuckle.
really good, and of course, here's where the person who was supposed to be watching the daughter is now having to face the music for not being, not upholding a certain responsibility.
Where were you?
And yeah, somebody had to go to the chopping block, and it looks like that's one thing. Honeysuckle is the leader, and therefore, if, she may be the leader, but like I said, with the great power comes great responsibility, and yeah, Honeysuckle's the one who usually has to take the rap for failure, and in the position, it's she the one thing the Honeysuckle's character, she doesn't have many fears. The only thing Honeysuckle is scared of Richie. Honeysuckle is scared of Richie because she knows he's off. She knows she has no control. She knows that she cannot cross him because she has a fear of Richie. She has a fear of what she doesn't understand. She does not understand Richie. Richie is crazy. Richie is out of his mind, and that is something that Honeysuckle herself can be kind of a hypocrite about. She is always in her mind, in her right mind. However, her temperament gets the best of her. However, she is not seeing. She can never have the capacity to notice that Richie's emotion is overcoming him. Emotion, anger, it's the same thing. However, she doesn't understand love. Honeysuckle doesn't understand love. And whether or not they both have emotional overreactions, Honeysuckle to her temperament, Richie to his emotional grief and despair and depression and distraughtness. Honeysuckle doesn't understand these things. Honeysuckle only understands anger and greed and retaliation. Honeysuckle does not know love. Honeysuckle refuses to acknowledge love. Her character, it was love that created her character. A love tragedy, which like I said, when we get to that film, we're definitely gonna go deeper into Honeysuckle's past. It's something that we definitely will cover. And as you see here, Robert just really played the father so well here. This is another one of my favorite scenes. Just I came up with the idea to do it this way, to have him pace, because I pace myself a lot when I'm thinking or when I'm frustrated. I do a lot of pacing, and of course, yeah, this is just a great scene. Rose and the guys, Rose and the two stalwart brothers played this so well, and it was just you have your top lieutenants there, and they yeah, they're gonna get her back. T again. This was in my opinion, this was T's best performance. He he was excellent. I was everybody on the set was just amazed and in silence and in awe at the way at how well this went. This was shot in one take. They did this in one take. I had actually written this one. This was actually from script,
Do you
and
think 2
it
hours
was
is a
done
problem?
in one take.
Do you need
One
all
take.
day, Xanax?
This
Two
whole
hours.
dialogue was done in one
2
take.
hours.
There were no cuts. None.
Mm.
I added the
Mm.
cut in that you saw where we cut into a close up, but
2
the whole
hours.
thing was done uncut. This was just
You know what
wonderful.
time's wasting right now?
We gone. We
In
gonna
fact,
And of
get.
course, this is a great reference.
Where's
Where
Tavington?
is Tavington Honeysuckle? And the
Last time I
look on
seen
Rose's
Cole
face
was
here
that
is
sucker was trying
priceless.
to card game.
This
You know,
is
he always pay his
this
husband
is
money at card table.
priceless.
So this last time we saw him, you know,
This
when we was on
line
the card
is
table,
one of the
husband money
best
on the card
lines in the
game.
film. But
Yeah,
Richie,
that's what he was at the
er,
catfish juke joint.
if I don't kill you, somebody else
Catfish Junction,
will.
huh?
I swear I was in
Where
tears.
we all get our hustle at, bro.
Here it
Tavington,
comes. Oh my
Tavington,
goodness.
Tavington. If
Just
I
the
don't kill you,
look on
somebody else
her
will.
face is priceless. Tell me that isn't priceless.
We gonna go find.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah, let's go through that.
Well, y'all do
The
that.
the killer is right
But
there in the room.
remember,
The
just hold
culprit.
6 bullets.
What else could you say, man? That
I'm
scene
glad you
goes
concur.
beyond words.
Don't make me
It's
put your
great.
name on a book.
Everybody can relate to a time when they've lied about something or have
Bet.
totally just told a story or cover up the whole thing of not ratting on your friends. Everyone can relate. And of course, here's the search sequence. They got 2 hours, 2 bullets apiece, 6 bullets and 2 bullets apiece. It just doesn't get any better than this. This is just great cinema. Oh man. And here they continue their search, their 2 hour trek to find Mary Sue. Mary Sue, by the way, being a pejorative term for someone who plays an important role, a crucial role in the plot, and it describes, she plays a major role in in the plot because she is, and even though she's not on camera that much, but her role is important because it plays an important role in one of the tribulations Honeysuckle has to deal with. It she represented an event. Mary Sue itself is a pejorative term, and that's why I use that name for Kiera's character. She is definitely a product, of the
I'm counting
melodrama,
this.
idealized, image of what the damsel in distress would be, being held against her will by Richie and his
We
family.
got most of the crew that
And
out there
here,
hitting the streets.
I like this little
On the
scene here.
premises, we gonna find 'em. We
We
gonna
actually
find
had a
'em. We
cut
got
where the guys were leaning up
we got
against the
Cal,
door.
we
We're
got
supposed to be
Mo,
leaning up against the
Pam out
door
there looking
and
for 'em.
listening
I got
in
my
on
best guys
this
on
on
duty.
this pressure cooker she's in. See, there's the door right there. And I love this little scene because it's been an hour.
You
If
best
your
guys
best guys are out there,
out
why aren't
there.
you with them? And of course,
Why are you
Rose
not with them?
answers to this so well.
We got who come give you an update, Rich.
Indeed.
No?
And nothing more to be said there. Just a hard decision to make for Richie there. And of course, time winding down here, and yeah, the second report is happened to be the most dreaded. I love this scene. This scene terrified everyone on the
Where's my
set.
light?
Um, I had no idea T was this good, but wow, he really at this point I think he even scared Rose, and it was I mean he can the one thing I'll say about T is he can really play a psycho very well.
Ramon,
Not that
Cap,
and
Pam,
T
everybody. I
for
got
the
my best
record,
guys out there.
Booker T, Reed the third, he's a brilliant young man, very brilliant, um, very intelligent, very cool and calm most of the time, and I guess in the general sense, this scene is so out of character. When we came up with this role for Big Smokey's son, I told I told him what I was looking for. I said, T, if you want to do this, I need David Ruffin from the Temptations movie. I need David Ruffin mixed in with a little bit of T3, the character you play on the wrestling show. And wow, did he ever bring it here in this scene? crushing the hand. I love this. I came up with this idea to kind of show a sort of dominance, a power there. Fear. The one thing Honeysuckle doesn't show much of is fear, but she fears Richie. She fears what he represents. Richie represents unconditional obsession, unconditional love, and Honeysuckle represents unconditional rage and anger. And like I said earlier, Honeysuckle's character does not is not in tune with emotional with these kinds of emotional expressions. She's not in tune with the ideals of love. Her character has experienced love, yet she has closed herself off from love. She has isolated herself from love, and maybe perhaps in this look it's not a fear of what she doesn't understand. Perhaps it's a fear of something she doesn't want to understand, a fear of something she doesn't want to experience again, a hatred for it, and such, and which is fueled by a fear. But I don't want to spoil too much of the prequel. So,
Bring
man,
Mary
just great acting here,
Sue
wonderful acting here.
back to me.
And then the terror, the
Make
sheer
way
terror of
and see the
the
sunset.
sunset. That was a major theme in this film, is the sunset, seeing the sunset, living to the end of the day. And of course, no bad encounter with Honeysuckle is complete without the ultimate salt in the wound, which is Ace in this case, Ace and his money stacks. And I love this whole scene here. We shot this totally out of the air. This was not planned. This was something I just asked both of them to come in and do. I had an idea just to kind of show, after this situation has happened, why not have Honeysuckle come in and just straight ask him? At this point, it's pretty irrelevant. At this point, I thought it was great to put this in there. It's just face to face meeting between the two, and just a great thing to emphasize. How jealous Honeysuckle is of this man. I love it. There and I got we were really fortunate. I actually knew the owner of this corner store. I'd known him for years since I was a child, and went there and asked him personally, could I got a film to shoot. And like I said, your network is your net worth, and it's good to know good people, and it's good to get locations, and of course, meets with him. Big Smokey and them are out there. This is a great setting for a great store. It's kind of like the storehouse for the moonshine. And of course, here comes my cousin, Kenneth Rozier Jr. He really he plays the character of Tic Tac, the kind of the informant guy, and another one of Honeysuckle's minions, if you will. There's there's T-Bone, of course, and that's another one of Rose's brothers there. Wonderful. And of course, she's going up to the information tree. And then I thought, like I said, I really enjoyed this. Um, this scene. I really, like I said, I watch a lot of Japanese cinema, and I really like the shots. I really like these kinds of wide shots and beautiful scenery. Um, very, very operatic and poetic, and I love these kinds of tight shots and pans, and you got to, and the lighting. It's just you can make a scene come to life with this kind of work, and of course leave it to leave it to me to add in a little bit of costume design or everything. It's just really, this is what production breaks down to, is conventions, production, and of course I love this shot. I love these shots here. And this is at that point, honey. Now, one thing about Rose is she always made sure she wore that pencil. That pencil is her numbers pencil. That's how she makes her notes. Oh man, that was a great add-on. That was completely Rose's idea, and I love that addition to her costume, and the pigtails, the the crazy pigtails. Now, and of course, we had to throw this scene in there, and it was Ace. Where is he getting the money? And of course, he makes a stop by Honeysuckle's house. I threw this shot. This was totally shot by Corey himself, and I think Corey and Anthony put this scene together here. Corey, and then counting out the money. It's just a great. We're probably gonna add this into one of his music videos at some point. Great, like I said, it's B-roll footage. You just move the footage around. My goodness, I love this right here. It's just great. Remnants of the card game, remnants of everything. And just packing up and preparing for the future, which we'll see what he's up to when we get to the sequel. Yep, definitely. And coming up is the infamous funeral scene. I'd like to thank Neon Bentley for giving us this opportunity to make this scene. This was at Bentley and Sons Funeral Home, and it was one of the funnest times we ever had as a group. Of course, we know why they're at the funeral home. Apparently, the body was found. Reverend Baker, by the Honorable Reverend Baker, played by Dion himself, and this is just a great scene. I wish there was something I could have done, and there's no greater irony than when the killer is sitting right there with you. I mean, this scene is gold. I mean, this whole sequence is just great. I love every shot, all the facial expressions, and Rose and T really carried this scene through. This was like wonderful, wonderful irony, and you know, just double entendres and everything you want in this scene. This is crazy. Look at her. The most shocking thing that I found out when making this film was the whole time I was under the impression that I was kind of giving Rose a little bit of trouble by having her keep her hair like this, because I was like, man, I know. I was saying, Rose, we're gonna get done soon, so you can change that. And then she comes up to me on the set, and this was over my grandma's house. She comes up to me over the set at the other set we were at in North Macon, and tells me this ain't real, Daniel. And I was like, what? He said, this ain't real. I could take it off. And I said, my jaw dropped literally. That is a wig she is wearing, and I I was in complete shock. That is a wig. I the whole pigtail, the whole thing is a wig. And Rose has a lot of hair, but Rose has some hair, but man, I thought that was her real hair. I literally thought that was her real hair. Of course, David, man, we had a time doing this scene. I try being a director and asking your actor to lay in a real casket. There's no other feeling like it. There's no other feeling that can compare to being the person to have to ask the actor to get into a casket for a scene like this. And David was in there for well over an hour and 30 minutes. Oh God. And T really played the T can I mean if anybody could play a psychopath, it's T. Man, this is just a great scene, and man, Robert really did well in this scene too. I really thought that this was great. We had good lighting, great setups. Just man, this is cinema.
I'm going to find out.
And T just he really I didn't even need to give him much direction. He already knew where to go with this one, and he took it there. He really took it there. It's just great. Just the gyrations and the selling of the emotion, the breaking down, and he literally goes through a breakdown here. It's just step by step, great acting here. Yeah, I mean, literally, we had to cut some of these scenes because, man, some of at certain points during this shoot, there was so much laughter and My goodness, we sometimes we just couldn't help ourselves. The of course, and DQ and Honeysuckle back there. There's no greater irony. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get the person responsible. We'll find out who did it. It's look the person. It's just lovely. This scene is so wonderful because the person who did it, the person who put that body in the casket, is right behind him. Oh man, it's wonderful. It's just great. And again, I just can't thank Mr. Bentley enough for allowing us to utilize his facilities for these scenes. Of course, just the awesomeness of this. That's C.J. Sutton back there playing their assistant, um, also playing Mr. Bentley's assistant, and he really works for Mr. Bentley, by the way. And C.J. Sutton, my good friend, Mr. C.J. Sutton back there, and here's Mr. Bentley right here, Mr. Dion Bentley. I think it was a heart attack, and he plays Reverend Baker here in the film, and Honey's apparently another one of Honeysuckle's minions who can cover up some of her handiwork, including that throat slit, which was just brilliantly covered up by Reverend Baker there. Of course, Big Smokey, of course, having trouble buying it. Obviously, he has an idea of what really happened, and there is the payoff. Rose personally, just I think I really she had to love this role. She it I've heard people say there's nothing like playing a bad guy. There's nothing like playing a villain. Playing a villain is fun. Well, I've never had the experience to play a villain in a film, but man, it's watching Rose out there. It must be something. It must be something to it. And of course, we had this on Bentley here. He's gonna count. Reverend Baker is gonna go ahead and count his collection. Make dang sure it was real. I had to cut some of it because yeah, those were 20s, and at the time, you wouldn't really catch many people carrying 20s around. But hey, it's cinema. The point is the story. Love the shot. Very Japanese. Got this from Shogun's Ninja and some of the Kurosawa classics, and I really I really like framing. I stress framing in my films. I love to frame shots. I'm I'm a true photographer at heart, and I'll be the first to admit to anybody that I love framing. I love the framing aspect of photography, getting things in the shot. Of course, there's Big Smokey's hat back there. That's actually either Dion Bentley's or Big Smokey's hat. We had an issue about the hats in the scene, because Honeysuckle uses one of the hats, and of course it was Big Smokey's hat. And yeah, I had to have the body looting scene where of course, they're the Shankers, and they are, they are pretty much low lives, and they are crooks, and yeah, they're gonna go ahead and make sure they take up their collections for the day, and ultimate insult there. Just when you think Honeysuckle doesn't have a heart, look at this, taking the man's glasses. Just when you think she couldn't get lower, she does something quite kind of decent by giving at least leaving Tavington his glasses, or did she? But like I said, this is I love this scene. Rose Person played this. This was all improv, and Rose Person really played this villainy. She really got the villainy through. All they care about is getting whatever they can off this man before they bury him. And then just this, I put this in. I wanted this scene to convey the evil and the cruelty in the character's heart. I mean, at times during these events, we have actually had sympathy. I mean, you had to feel something for Honeysuckle, but in the end, this is to again stress that this is a villain. This is and what an on-screen villain she is. Cruel, will will sing of joy as for that's another thing. It's kind of a it's kind of a twist though because they say you're supposed to celebrate a person's passing. It's they say you celebrate. You don't. Of course, we all are bereaved, and but this is a celebration. This is Honeysuckle's way of celebrating somebody's memory, and she does it quite well in this scene. Oh my goodness. She Rose is a complete ham when it comes to this. I I just let her loose in this scene. I just told her to be ruthless. I just told her to be completely cold and ruthless in this scene, and you know evil was the word I wanted. I wanted evil. I wanted complete carelessness for having killed somebody. No remorse, nothing. I wanted, and look, look, she's gonna take the tie too. She, how cruel can you get? Gonna take the tie, and just when you thought that she had any decency, yep, she decided to take the glasses anyway. I love that scene. It's just great. How cruel. That's just to show what kind of person she really is. She is heartless, cold and heartless. No, almost no sign of a human being there. It's just completely cruel. My goodness. Singing, but you gotta admit, I mean, nobody has ever celebrated someone's passing as joyously as Honeysuckle. What a way to go out! That scene was directly from The Wizard of Oz. Yes, it was. We definitely stole that. And here, of course, is CJ Sutton. Man, he really. This was a scene I came up with just to kind of show how cruel this town is. Even the common folk will steal in this town. And yeah, I mean, just when you thought they couldn't take anything else from Tavington, there you go. Of course, he got the shoes, and looks like Tavington's going the way he came with nothing. My goodness, this had us rolling. That right there had us rolling on the floor. You can even hear some of the laughter in the scene I couldn't take out. Love this scene. Just the next morning, back to business, back to searching for their good old friend, the stranger. Love these shots. I personally came up with these shots, and like I said, I admit that throughout this film was also an experiment, more than a character study, an experiment. All my films are mostly experiments with framing, experiments with shot framing. If you watch Bad Day Funk, then you would see how I work. I've totally stressed, and as they chase Anthony here, you see DQ bleeding off, and really it was so hot out there that he passed out. He had actually gotten sunstroke and passed out, and yeah, we had to go. He got dehydrated, and it was a lot of dehydration. Even Anthony was dehydrated after that run, and he gets killed. In this scene, we just decided to go ahead, and the fall was so lovely that we went on and just said, look, we can kill him here. So of course, he was shanked by the stranger as they were running, and this really set up well for the next scene here. And what more could make this more personal than killing the only person who Honeysuckle considered to be her best friend, and of course, Michael Hunt, the little brother figure to Honeysuckle, going off to avenge the death of his sister's best friend, and I love it. It's just great, family references among the characters, which I tried to build, throughout the beginning of the film. And see here, bam. This fight scene was very fun to do. Michael really did well. He is very strong, and man, I told Seth, man, if you were in town, you definitely be one of my regulars on AWS Intensity. He can wrestle. I loved it. really did this scene. Him and Anthony worked really well together. This was just a lot of fun for both of them, I think, and it's great when you can get realism in there. It's not overly stylized. I wanted it to be very a very real kind of a struggle. The very style of the fights in this film mostly are unconventional, but I always put my finales are always conventional, are always very conventional. But this, for the most part, was unconventional, very 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 war movie esque, if you will, and very well done. And of course, I'm using music directly from Shogun's Ninja, 1982. Love that. Love that. The fire dance. Had to use it. And of course, the stranger. Anthony did so well with this. His natural reactions are great. You know, killing on the battlefield kind of thing. And this is supposed to be an allusion to guerrilla warfare, Vietnam. Killing. Running the fields. And of course, here's Big Bro breaking the spine. Oh man, this was another fun fight scene to throw together. Oh man, did we ever have a ball on this one? I wanted this to be so old school. I wanted all the hits and bumps to be almost television quality, like 70s television quality. Nothing too realistic looking. Yeah, gotta be and of course slitting the throat with the old school effect in there. And you talk about strength. Martin Hunt here, he was great. Also, one of Rose's brothers, like I said before. Very strong family. I loved it. Yeah. Loved it. Loved it. Oh man, it's great stuff. And of course, here goes Anthony, and now Armand's gonna ham sandwich, the death ham sandwich, stolen directly from Sonny Chiba. I watched a lot of Sonny Chiba's work, his earlier work during the days. Love the way they set up kill scenes in the Street Fighter series and some of his other ones like the Executioner and Bear Killer and all the ones that he did, Bull Slayer. Those are just great films. If you ever get a chance, check out some Sonny Chiba work. It's just really all tight shot fight scenes almost. Very tight, very closed in, very gruesome for the most part. And I was surprised to found out that the original movie, the version, the Street Fighter, got an X rating. I was just stunned. Violence can go that far. My goodness, back in those days, I guess it was pretty unconventional, pretty unbelievable. I love the effects. I love sound effects. I love to add in sound effects. Um, here this coming up is going to be a display of how I work with sound, and this is it's the fight scene between Richie and the stranger. Richie seeking to avenge the alleged death of his best friend, Tavington, who, of course, you get the idea by this point that the stranger is his ideal candidate as the killer. Therefore, we went on and ran with it, and love this. The one thing I'm guilty of in all my films is making ridiculous I love standoff. For some reason, I'm still working on my standoffs. I want my I love standoffs. Maybe because I'm a Western romantic. You can call me what you will, but I love preparation scenes before the duel. I love the ambiance of a pending duel, and I love the standoff. I love the wind blowing. I love everything you feel before death cometh. The feeling, the events before the passing of death, and just love standoffs. Wouldn't be a Daniel Kahn Nelson film without a standoff. And here we go. Just great, great. On production day when we did this scene, we totally we tried to strategize what would make this very scary. The fact that you're point blank at a gun and you have to get away, and love it. Just used old conventional ways of making kills, and old. We used a very old way to make this fight scene. Very old way. Like I said, this is a guerrilla film. This is a and for the most part, this was one of the better fight scenes I've put together in terms. This is the first time I ever did a gun in a fight scene. First time I've ever done a scene involving a gun, involving gunplay in a fight scene. Yeah, for the most part, it was pretty. It wasn't that bad. At least looking at it, I didn't think it was that bad. Of course, it has this little note to Mary Sue, his love, but his also his captive, his former captive. uh, but knowing Richie, being psychotic as he is, of course, it's not just gonna be some walk off to the sunset. And he played this one. This is great stuff. Uh, it's not over yet. Love this part. Richie, make this one count. Great, and we were able to. This is so great. The revolver. I stole that directly from Yojimbo. The ending of Yojimbo. Like I said, Richie's character was inspired by the gang member's son in Yojimbo, the final gang standing with the one with the giant. I can't remember the specific name at the moment, but name of the group and the name of the character. I think it was Snow Rabbit or something. In Japanese, it means Snow Rabbit or something. But I love the ending and the final gunshot. And of course, I'd argue. I guess. I guess I confidently say this is the best fight scene I've ever done in my career thus far. Better than any of the wrestling matches I've choreographed. Better than anything I've done violent wise. This is pretty much the culmination of a long time and a lot of practice at putting together a fight scene, trying to find my own style of doing the fight scene, of doing a fight scene, and I've improved. Of course, there were some terribly embarrassing moments from a Bad Day Funk where I had standoffs go too long, and I didn't really have the experience to do a fight scene. But this one I felt very good about. I really planned this out. I did storyboards. I really worked this fight scene, and I generally this was my first time doing serious choreography. I really went all out for this. I wanted this fight scene to be something special, and yes, we went totally old school in this fight scene. And again, my sound. I culminated my sound work, my framing of shots, the experience I gained from watching hundreds of old time kung fu films from the 1970s and 80s, and you have to really do your research and remember what it feels like, what some of these fight scenes are supposed to feel like. And if I could have improved the scene any bit, I would have just added more movement. I would have made it more fluid, more striking. Um, but like I said, there's always the sequel. But and the one thing I forgot to mention, Honeysuckle's blade has a magic quality. There is a little bit of supernatural in this film. I like to mix it in. Honeysuckle's blade is a singing blade. The shank is a singing shank. It makes a sound. It makes an amazing melody, a mystical melody sound when she strikes with it, and the sound waves. I had an idea that the sound waves would cause a little bit deeper of a gash if she ever stabbed someone with it. It slashes. Love the old sound effects. Just that's what I work with. And Rose Person hooping her body like that. I had no idea Rose was capable of doing this stuff, and she never ceases to amaze me. The one thing I'll say about Rose Person is there's always something to surprise you with this woman. She shows up on the set the day, and while I'm choreographing, while I'm showing them what they're gonna do, she says, "Okay, what if I do this?" Leans all the way back and bridges herself. I'm just like, oh my god, like, wow. It's very hard to find someone this talented, especially in independent film and no budget cinema. When you're doing this kind of cinema, she is a rare find, very rare find. And of course, Anthony Oyola getting that cut in. I love this part where the stranger had his spare knife. Even though he lost his regular knife, you always carry a spare. Great battle here. And of course, Honeysuckle had some spares too. She double plates. the two hand, the two hand slashing. Of course, the stranger. This is just great. I totally got this lighting idea from Fist. Well, I'll say the big boss. Bruce Lee's the big boss. I love the nighttime lighting, and I wanted to kind of get a little bit of that. That's the idea I had when we set up at this old abandoned gas station. We wanted to get that look, that old time light look, where it looks very hard lighting. This is like I just wanted a hard lighting look, something that had effect, and I love the ad. The messages being sent in this scene. The messages conveyed. You know, I got you. It's almost like I have the high ground after slitting the wrist, and of course the stranger. Being representation of mercy and good, and then there's anger and rage and obsession, and of course not only have one, everything has a consequence. Most of this fight, the stranger had been on defensive, and it was time to defend yourself. It's time to defend yourself. That's that's where we'll pretty much stop part one here. Please check out part two, and also be sure to let me know what you think. And thank you for watching my film. This is Daniel Kahn Nelson, signing off.